What is going on, guys? Welcome back. Commentary for you. I just did a recap over at GorlickBread.com, and in that video, I clearly said, oh, what a difference a day makes. There's a couple things I want to talk about, though, specifically to this stream today. First and foremost is the concept of reverse culture shock. So the time we were in Kuwait, the time we were in the Middle East, heard a lot about the culture shock, being a revert, the struggles, the failure that everyone might have to understand. And I will finally agree with Chantal. It is very difficult to understand how someone can come online 72, 48, 24 hours ago and completely show themselves. And then the following day say, well, I have reverse culture shock. And I was praying the whole time. I was doing all of those things that were against the religion. Coming online, showing my hair, eating that bacon, eating those things, smoking those things. Doesn't matter. I was still praying. What I find interesting is when you were in the Middle East, when it was acceptable to stop what you were doing during the call to prayer that was being played over loudspeakers and have your moment to pray. You refused to do that. You then said later on that you felt pressured. You said that you didn't fully understand. But fear not, you were praying, you were making these things up in your own time. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you certainly do have the right to do that. But it's interesting now that we're taking kind of this opposite stance of, well, you don't know what I do, when I do, why I do. I also kind of want to inverse this statement. Okay, Chantal says she has not talked to Salah. I believe that. But if we just rearrange the sentence, that sentence becomes Salah has not talked to her. And that, I believe, is where a lot of the panic is rooted. I think perhaps there is a world where Chantal feels she overdid it during the now deleted stream, and that she needs to try to conform just slightly to what Salah's expectations of her were. Now, again, that's open to interpretation. You can feel however you want. You can say that some of it could be because of the image, some of it could be because of Salah. I think there's a million different ways we can go. I think there's probably a little bit of everything that turns into the truth. But I find it strange that she brought the hijabs back with her in the first place. Remember, she was going to leave them all there. She had no need for them. So there is some level of premeditation in simply bringing them with you. Now, she also knows the streams with the icon, they did very, very poorly. And at the time, she could come online and blame the internet. Really, no one had any recourse. What were you going to say? The internet was bad in Syria. We know this. Doing it now has seemed to almost infuriate her chat. At the end of the day, you could make the case and document in evidence through her videos, her live streams, that she never really practiced fully committing to the Muslim religion while in the Middle East. There was very few times we saw the Quran. There was even fewer times we saw her in a mosque. And not that those become the baseline of what makes someone a Muslim. But what I'm saying is she wasn't very open about her faith. She wasn't showing the commitment to her faith. In fact, she was kind of going against the grain in many ways of her faith. And when that was challenged, as I said, she would proclaim that she would make the prayers up later, that no one understood. And yet here we are. Apparently no one still understands. Because we're back in Canada, and we went from not wearing our hijab to wearing our hijab in just a number of days. And when we never know the difference a day will make, there's no way that I can't be back as soon as I can with more commentary.